Watch where you step, you oaf. My house is not a sty through which to track your filth.
Supergiant's new roguelike Hades is shaping up to be one of the most invigorating games I've honestly played in the past year, and probably one of the best games I'll play in 2019. As promised, Supergiant has hastily pushed out a massive content update for Hades as quickly as 1 month after its debut. So if you've got a few minutes to spare, feel free to sit down with us as we dive into the new features, changes, and mini challenges the Chaos update has to offer. Let's begin. Starting with probably the largest contribution in terms of new content, the new update introduces us to a new vendor known as the Primordial Chaos. With this vendor, the player is able to drastically raise the stakes of any particular run by handicapping the player's abilities for the next few rooms. Your survival through this handicap rewards you with a pretty massive buff that will undoubtedly make the remainder of your run much easier. She seems to be somewhat of a chance encounter, as I haven't consistently seen this vendor in every single run of mine, but she does pop up often enough to where you'll probably see her after only a couple runs. Another welcome addition to Hades involves an all-new resource called Heat, and it took me a while to figure out what exactly I was supposed to use this for, or for that matter, even find it. Turns out slapping a giant skull icon on one of the transition doors can actually be pretty intimidating to a player that's never seen it, so I avoided interacting with this icon for at least a good few runs like the dickless wonder that I am, until I finally just got curious and decided to take the risk. Heat is a new resource in Hades, and it allows you to activate certain challenges known as Pacts of Punishment. Available only to people that have killed the Bone Hydra and have completed a run, these pacts are a means of offering new challenges to your next run if you, for whatever reason, felt a normal run wasn't relentless enough. And unlike the handicaps you receive from the Primordial Chaos, any pacts you establish here will significantly alter the entire duration of your next run. And a smaller highlight of the new update, albeit one of my favorite new ideas they've contributed to the game, is the Wretched Broker, a destination in the game for exchanging resources if you happen to have a little too much darkness on you, but you really want some extra heat for this pact that you want to try out. It's a really convenient and neat little addition to an already generous content update. You also have a trio of new foes to pulverize across your future runs: the Skull Crushers, which are essentially these giant fat-ass pillars that leap up into the air and, well, crush your skull coming back down, and there are also Gorgon-type enemies that transform Zagreus into stone if hit by one of their projectiles. Other minor highlights to the gameplay include new obstacles, a new mirror upgrade, a variety of nerfs and buffs to keep the game interesting, we'll go through those later, and a new room encounter which challenges the player to perfectly clear a room by not getting hit a single time. Succeeding rewards you with the item the door promised you, and failing the challenge results in a very condescending Lord Hades throwing an onion at you that increases your health by 1 point and then telling you to piss off into the next door. In addition to the new content in the Chaos update, the new set of animations given to Zagreus is also one of the larger highlights that came with the new major patch. I honestly didn't see that much of a difference replaying the game by itself. Some of the attack animations did seem more fluent and consistent, but it wasn't until I actually played footage of a previous version of the game and compared the two side by side when I began noticing some pretty glaring discrepancies in how the animations played out, how Zagreus walked and engaged in combat, and things like that. And the closer I observed such differences, the more small tweaks you can actually see in the animations. And I can only imagine how painstaking of a process this was to retouch this many animations and get everything tuned exactly the way they wanted it, so kudos to them. A good portion of the UI has also changed. The increasing of your max health is now represented by only numbers instead of the HP bar actually extending in physical size, some new dialogue options, various baseline graphical improvements across all biomes, and a bunch of other animation glitch fixes and patches, which means the amusing glitch where you watch Zagreus levitate around while locked into his attack animation after you clear a room is unfortunately done and gone. But to top it off, a change to one of the characters that I had no no idea I even needed until now. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, and one of the many characters that offer you aid through boons in your journey through Tartarus and Asphodel, has received a quite literal game-changing update in her appearance. Stone pillars now break when an enemy is slammed into it via knockback damage. Hades' remembrance sequences, bloodstone attacks, and general environments have all been given an updated look, and even the level design of the environments themselves have been updated with 3 new chambers in both Tartarus and in Asphodel. Moving on to some of the power alterations, nerfs, and buffs given to weapons, boons, enemies, and so forth. I probably won't be going through all of these, as listing every single change would take tons of time, so I will be leaving a link in the description and/or pinning a comment directing you to the complete patch notes for the major update. For starters, the bow is still overpowered as shit, no change there. The spear attacks slightly faster, and the charge duration of the spin attack has been slightly reduced, but the chi strat of hiding around a pillar and getting backstab damage on a front-facing enemy is no longer available, so that's kinda sad. Reduced recovery time on the shield, and your shield will return to you much quicker when thrown, meaning you don't have to just stand there and wait anymore while your shield is busy pinballing off of 17 different enemies in the background. Dashing now briefly stuns foes and can be used strategically to cancel enemy attacks, and the backstab hitbox has been normalized for a variety of different enemies, meaning you can no longer score backstab damage by attacking them on any side that isn't the front. If you booted up the game and realized you suddenly have a shit ton of darkness placed back into your inventory with no explanation, well, that's because some of the mirror upgrades have been down-tuned with a reduced maximum rank. You can now carry a maximum of 3 projectiles instead of 4, which I kinda like, because with the right buffs, it would be way too easy to just stand back and launch a lightning bolt into a crowd of enemies and let the projectile do the work for you. Just about all of the boons and upgrades you receive from the gods have been applied with gentle nerfs or buffs, and once again, feel free to check out the full patch notes if you'd like to see everything that got changed. Enemy behaviors have actually changed somewhat significantly as well. The bloodless skeletons in Asphodel will now flank and surround you more effectively, but the delay between their initial attack animation and the actual attack itself is a little more forgiving. The Inferno bombers now drop only 1 bomb when slain instead of 3, that way you don't have to spam the dash button like you're having a seizure just to get away from the blast radius. Meg's health has been nerfed by quite a lot actually, and the once lingering shielding effect applied by Void Stones is now cancelled immediately as the Void Stone is destroyed. And finally, the cost of various items sold by Karen have either increased or decreased depending on the item being sold. Centaur hearts and boons have been reduced in cost, while upgrades received from the Daedalus hammer have been increased. The Eye of Lamia has a much steeper price than it used to, and the Light of Ixion power-up has been pushed into the later areas of the game. I actually think I've only seen it spawn in Asphodel ever since the update, but I could be wrong on that. All I know is this power-up no longer appears in the earlier parts of the game, which makes a ton of sense because the buffs of such a strong power-up in such an early part of the game makes purchasing it kinda counterproductive. The Hades Chaos update was pushed forward just yesterday, and the alterations are honestly night and day. The boons and upgrades received are much more consistent, so the effectiveness of your runs don't feel as much at the mercy of an RNG as they used to. Enemy behaviors, animations, AI, weapons, and art have all changed in some way, so I highly encourage you to dive into the game as soon as you can and check out some of the new additions for yourself. I'm Rusty, thanks for tuning into The Forge, and I will see you next time. Take care.